morning. My name is MacKenzie M, and today I will be analyzing the question, to what extent has the anti-vaccination movement in the United States of America negatively impacted American children between the ages of 1 and 14? This leads me to the claim I realize to be most pragmatic. In order to create a more healthy nation, mandatory vaccinations should be enforced with little to no exception beyond medical exemption. Now, before we can truly examine the basis of my claim in further depth, we first must learn what it is that a vaccine actually does. So here we'll see that first a dead version of the illness is injected into the body. From here, our immune system is now activated. As the vaccine enters the blood stream, the white blood cells will learn how to defend themselves against the virus should it affect the body in the future, as we can see depicted here, here, and here. Now that it is understood how exactly vaccines work, we must first look at the root of what spurred on my claim, which is the federal perspective. The first thing that may be argued in lieu of my claim is that it's unprecedented for the government to mandate whether a citizen is vaccinated or not. However, the court case of Jacobson v. Massachusetts, it proves that it actually is precedented. In this case, the Supreme Court upheld the authority of the states to enforce mandatory vaccination laws. This court case also stated that, and I quote, personal liberties may be suspended in cases where the interests of the common good are of paramount importance. This quote was said in response to bringing up the 14th Amendment and its Equal Protection Clause. This court case truly displays in its entirety the government's responsibility to enforce vaccinations when it endangers the public, something which I will delve further into my presentation. Additionally, it was ruled in 1922 in the case of Zucht v. King that a school system could refuse admission to a student who did not meet vaccination requirements, and that this would not be in violation of the 14th Amendment to Equal Protection Clause for singling out a particular class of individuals. However, even with these court cases in place, there has still been made loopholes for not getting vaccinated. Religious exemptions, for example, are a prime example of this. While many parents use religious exemptions as a way to avoid their children getting vaccinated, scarcely any widely followed religion actually has a modern person of power denouncing vaccines. Actually, many religious leaders actually encourage it. The Catholic Church, for one, has approved of vaccines in recent years, stating that the common good is what should matter. Even our own government backs up vaccinations with the quote, personal liberties may be suspended in cases where the interests of the common good of the community are of paramount importance, something that was brought up in the 1905 court case of Jacobson v. Massachusetts, which I have mentioned prior. Additionally, religious exemptions have been hurting this country in recent years regarding vaccines. This graph, for example. Here we observe a spike in religious exemptions in the academic year of 2013 through 2014. In this graph, it is evident that these exemptions, the main areas of these exemptions are the Nevada, California region, the Michigan region, and the Texas region. Now, moving on to this next graph, keeping the last graph in mind, we observe an increase of measles in the United States from 2001 to 2014. This line right here displays 2014. As we can clearly see, measles cases have rose drastically the more religious exemptions from vaccines are being passed. And with a little more research conducted by the CDC, it becomes apparent that states with the leading most measles outbreaks are in fact California, Michigan, and Texas. Uncoincidentally, also the states with the most religious exemptions for vaccines. Now, moving on from a governmental standpoint and moving on to more of a medical standpoint, measles is the most prevalent vaccine-preventable virus. For example, in 1963, before a measles vaccine was developed, there was a reported 2.6 million cases of measles reported. Majority of these people came down with encephalitis, a common side effect of measles. There were about 100,000 deaths reported. Now, on the other hand, from 2000 to 2010, there have only been 776 cases of measles. However, this number is drastically increasing. During this time frame I mentioned previously, only 4 people died. 1 in 2003, 1 in 2005, and 2 in 2010. All of these people were not vaccinated for measles. However, from 2011 to 2019, there have been a spike in measles, primarily in children. As of 2019, there have been reported 2,000 cases of measles since 2011. Most of these cases being unvaccinated children ages 14 and under developed severe cases of measles, killing about 50 children since 2011, a drastic increase from the 4 people killed in 2000 and 2010. Furthermore, vitality of vaccines. Vaccine vitality in smaller children is immensely important. Recent media trends of one-to-many connections being defined as websites such as Google or Wikipedia by Edward Kessler, have helped shed truth about vaccines. Truths such as newborn babies are immune to many diseases because they have antibodies they get from their mothers. However, this immunity goes away within the first year of life. Hence the importance of vaccination 1 and above. Many parents' concerns about vaccines often include potentially dangerous ingredients such as formaldehyde and aluminum, which can be harmful in large doses. However, they are used in minuscule doses in vaccines, making them perfectly safe. Children are actually exposed to more aluminum in breast milk and infant formula than they are exposed to in vaccines. As a matter of fact, children are exposed to more bacteria, viruses, toxins, and other harmful substances in any normal day-to-day activities. Additionally, thimerosal, a mercury compound, has been removed or reduced to trace amounts in vaccines for children under 6 years old. The FDA requires up to 10 or more years for testing of all vaccines just before they are licensed. And even then, they are monitored by the CDC and FDA to make sure the vaccinations and the ingredients used in the vaccinations are safe. This leads me to my solutions and implications. As I continuously mentioned in my presentation, in order to create a more healthy nation, mandatory vaccinations should be enforced with little to no exception beyond medical exemption. While the solution would most likely cause a varying degree of backlash, the implications of the solution would be immense. Not only would this entail a healthier nation, but it would entail a healthier future for our American children as well. Above all, the government has a strict obligation to protect the people of America, and mandatory vaccines fall under the scope of obligation. As it was once said by Bob Dylan, yes, and how many years must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? Thank you. What are your questions?
All right, MacKenzie, I got 2 questions for you. First up, what information did you need before you began your research, and how did that information shape your research?
A lot of information that I needed prior to beginning my research was what exactly are the ingredients of vaccines, seeing as that it's the basis of which most people denounce vaccines. And this research really helped, or this prior research really helped on my future research, because really, without vaccines actually being harmful, there's really no basis for the anti-vaccination movement other than the occasional religious exemption here and there.
And if you had more time, what additional research would you have conducted on this issue?
If I had more time, I would have loved to include why medical exemptions are important to exclude from vaccination, as there's something called herd mentality, which is the ability to decrease the risk of harmful viruses we have vaccinated against from hurting uninfected children. Of course, there is still a risk they will be infected, but it is much has lower of a significance due to herd immunity. And unfortunately, I did not have enough time to include that in my presentation.
You were done.